Oh yes, it's coming in 3, 2, 1. On the air with FDT-TV, the premier West Ham and Arsenal football podcast, brought to you every Monday by Michael Hawes and Ian Varker.
Hello and welcome to the FDT-TV podcast, brought to you every Monday and sometimes a Tuesday of every week. I forgot what I was going to say, but my name's Ian, and as always, I am with...
I'm Mike.
And today is transfer deadline day, so I'm sure a lot of people are fed up with hearing a lot about nothing, especially West Ham fans. As you can tell, I'm a West Ham fan, Mike is an Arsenal fan, and we both generally like football. But yeah, so Mike, how's the week been without the Premier League?
Horrible. I mean, I'm not writing home anything about our January performance because they were diabolical. I think we had 3 losses and a draw, and a draw against an out-of-form Burnley. But it's horrible when there's not any decent football. And I know that's really condescending to teams in the lower leagues and stuff, but it's just not the Premier League, is it?
No, it's just a little bit shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so essentially, transfer deadline day is today, and the idea behind transfer deadline day is that all of the business and players that you've been rumoured to be buying, or your club's been rumoured to be buying, turns out it was all a load of nonsense all the time.
High five.
Yeah, it's one of those things that Arsenal have got the wrong idea. I think that they thought by deadline day you had to have sold all your players.
Yep.
Because you've had Callum Chambers go out, you've had Maitland-Niles go out. Looks like Aubameyang's on the way out. Kolasinac has gone.
Balogun's on loan.
Yeah, it's like Nketiah looks like there was rumours that he could be on the move at some point tonight. But yeah, so I think you got the wrong end of the stick because you had the links with Vlahovic, who went to Juventus. You've had links with, beginning of the window, hundreds of players that never materialised. Do you think that Arsenal are going to strengthen at some point today, or do you think it's going to be a quiet, tucked in bed early?
Yep. There's 3.5 hours left of the transfer window.
About that.
I can't see us getting any business done. I think if there was any sniffs of any business in, we would have done it by now. And I know that Thomas Partey won't come through late, but I swear we'd already had notification at that or by now within a transfer window that he was going to be making his move to us, but nothing yet. As you mentioned, it's been on again, off again, on again, off again, and that one's Aubameyang. Obviously, it's been 7 weeks now since he was stripped of his captaincy. He hasn't even featured in the squad once since he's been dropped. Then it come out that obviously I think there was 2 clubs interested in Barcelona and Juventus, but obviously with Vlahovic going to Juventus, obviously there was no need for Aubameyang now. So Barcelona are looking to get a deal done. It come out that talks are broken down between the 2 clubs. He was over there. He'd actually gone to Spain to see family apparently, and it looked like that deal was dead and buried. But 5 minutes ago, we've now had confirmation that it's likely to be on again. So yes, a bit of a strange one.
An interesting thing that I've seen. Obviously, he's on big money at Arsenal, isn't he? He's prepared to essentially play for nothing to join Barcelona.
So there talks about I think he's currently on somewhere in the region of around about 300 to 350 a week, and obviously with the financial crisis, I would say is a fair way to say it at Barcelona. He's offered to take a pay cut of around about 250 grand a week, so taking home 100 grand a week. And if that is true, it begs the question why. Well, I mean, I know we had to kind of secure him at the time because he was FA Cup winner, top scorer for us at that particular point. But as soon as he signed that deal, it was like the Mesut Ozil situation all over again. We haven't seen the best of him since he signed his big money contract. Not the first player it's ever happened to, not going to be the last player it ever happens to. But it's extremely frustrating because you'd think after the disciplinaries that he's had recently, he'd be given a chance then to kind of make amends, kind of like the Granit Xhaka situation. I can't remember exactly how many weeks he was out for. I know it was a fairly substantial amount of time, but obviously he managed to work hard at it and claw his way back into the team. But there doesn't seem to be any sniff of this happening now. And it looks like he's potentially played his last game for Arsenal. So
yeah,
it's a bit of a sad way for it to end. Really sad way for it to end.
Well, you've not had much luck, have you, with captains? When you look at Arsenal captains down the years, it's either been falling out with the board, falling out with the fans, obviously leaving on decent terms, and then sort of a two-finger salute. It's like there's not been many that have done well.
No. Or leaving for one of your rival club, leaving for a rival club.
Yeah.
Robin Snake Percy.
Mate, you want to win things, mate. Wanted to win things. So there was a little part of me that was hoping that Aubameyang would be becoming the new Petter Odemwingie when he turned up at QPR a few years ago and they wouldn't let him in the doors, trying to force through a move. But yeah,
only gone for a takeaway though.
Well, yeah. So, what I was going to ask, obviously, you've been linked with hundreds of players. Has there been anything today that looks like it potentially could happen, sort of last minutes of the window?
No, I know there was a guy called Isaac.
Isaac's a Swedish guy.
Yeah, from Real
Sociedad. Yep.
So that was one. He was spotted in London, got a new car registered, apparently for in the UK. I'm not sure if there's possibility of a deal that's been done behind closed doors that he ends up coming in the summer. But they're looking for around about 90 million euros for his release clause. Apparently, we put in a bid, I think, for about 70 million euros. Apparently that's been rejected by the club. So yeah, I can't see anything happening now. Like I said, with the whole Thomas Partey thing, I know that one kind of come down to the wire at the end for announcing it, but I could have sworn there was some sort of like progress at that particular point that the deal or the sniff of the deal was being done. But we go into the second half of the season now with I think it's like 18 first-team players. So we are a couple of injuries away from being very, very thin on the grounds, and potentially have now dented our top four chances for this season. I think if that does happen, there is going to be an uproar from the fans, because I know obviously we mentioned a couple of years ago with some of the dead wood that we had, and we did over the course of the last, I think, 3 windows since Arteta's been in, or 4 windows now. We have seen players being shifted out, contracts terminated, going for small money moves just to get them off the wage bill, and we've had a further clear out. Obviously, you mentioned Kolasinac earlier. So he's now gone. But we would have expected, with some of those wages being freed up off the books, that we would then kind of look to replenish the squad with some quality. And I get January is kind of like a difficult market to go into anyway, because I think the majority of the time it's going to be for players that aren't performing for their club, or the clubs need the money. And they are kind of surplus to requirements. So January is a difficult market. But with the lack of squad depth that we now have, we could look to be in a very difficult position going forwards for the rest of the season.
Yeah. It's a difficult one. I think in some senses it's sort of a domino effect, because people don't want to weaken their squads just in case of sort of injury crises. So sometimes we can see that. I mean, looks like the Aubameyang one, from looking at it, what the Spanish papers are saying if Dembele leaves, then Aubameyang's going through. If not, then there's no option to be able to sign. They won't be able to register him as a player. But yeah, so that's an interesting one. I mean, in terms of teams doing business in on deadline day, Tottenham have done reasonably well. The two boys from Juventus, Kulusevski, tricky winger, and Bentancur, who I believe was once upon a time on Arsenal's books as a youngster. So he's now there, and I think they're both loan to buy deals as well. So if it doesn't go well, then no harm, no foul, sort of thing. In terms of other teams, Everton obviously signed Donny van der Beek on loan. That's now announced. They then announced they got a new manager in Frank Lampard, and it looks like they've signed a couple of other people as well. Looks like Dele Alli could be going up there, which if Tottenham manage to offload him for 40 million quid, then I don't care what Tottenham fans think about Daniel Levy. He is a god, because there is no way that Dele Alli is worth 40 million quid. But yeah, so it's an interesting one. The one that confuses me a little bit, and it shows a little bit of stubbornness, I think, from Manchester United, is Jesse Lingard. So obviously he's been fairly professional throughout. He's showed his desire to leave, but not thrown his toys out the plan, and he's trained as he needs to. Newcastle have tried to get a deal over the line, and they've been rejected at every point. So have West Ham, looking at loans, because they want they wanted a £9 million loan fee, which eventually, allegedly, West Ham have said, yes, we'll pay that, and so did Newcastle, and the board said no, vetoed it. Ralph Rangnick said, no, you got my blessing. If you want to go and play football to get into the World Cup squad, go play football, because I can't guarantee you're going to start here. So, but the board vetoed it, so he's now going to walk away for free in the summer. So you'd think they would want to try and recoup some of that cost, even if it's saying, okay, we're not going to sell you to West Ham because this season they potentially are rivals to us. Now he's going for nothing. Obviously, in terms of West Ham moves, we had looks like yesterday Marseille defender Kate Lacar was going to go through, 6'4" beastie. That seems to have sort of gone dead in the water. They're arguing over pennies. It's a £16 million deal. Marseille need money, and West Ham are saying we want a loan with an option to buy. We don't want to give you money, and Marseille are saying no, we want the money. And
breaking news.
Go on.
Barcelona agreed deal to sign Arsenal striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
Very good. Very good.
Wow.
But you're going to be sad about that one, actually, aren't you? I think in terms of legacy, because at one point he did look like he could be an Arsenal legend. I think he's going to leave a villain.
Potentially. I mean, it really depends what happens, because obviously this could either go one of two ways. One, it could be that let's be honest, his first two seasons at the club, he was absolutely outstanding. Obviously, he was pivotal in getting us to the FA Cup victory in Arteta's first season with Arsenal as manager. But since then, it's been a bit of a downward spiral for him. He had an awful year last year. He had some disciplinary issues. And then this year, he's been awful again, not hit his prolific form, and again there's been disciplinary issues, and I said it for weeks and weeks that I think the pressure of him being a captain is too much for him. You could see in his body language he was getting more and more frustrated that he wasn't scoring goals, and yet obviously when he did score goals was very happy to do kind of like the press conferences and stuff. But I genuinely think that with him now going, because it's only until the end of the season. So if he goes to Barcelona and starts getting on his shooting boots again, maybe we can look at the situation again next year.
Yep.
But he's going to be a flop at Barcelona, in which case we've saved ourselves some money. But I can't. I really don't understand the decision to let him leave. at this moment in time, because I mean we've got Pepe again. He's a player that's been a bit hit and miss this season, but obviously I think he's now back training with the squad in Dubai, so we've got him to come back, and that would be in place of Saka if Saka was ever to get injured, or even rotate the squad to prevent injuries. And with the amount of people that we've let go, we are now extremely thin on the grounds. And
Yep.
I know we've only got one game a week, but if someone picks up a knock or pulls a hamstring or whatever, then we're knackered potentially in several positions. So
I think
Yeah.
in some senses with Arsenal letting players go, that is in some senses to run at a bit more of a profit, and also in fear of government intervention in clubs, because a number of clubs after COVID are now sort of exploding or imploding with finances. And I think it could also be the case of, if we get rid of some of these big earners. I mean, Kolasinac wasn't a first team starter, but he was still on a decent whack, wasn't he? You get him off the wage bill. Obviously, Chambers has gone. Maitland-Niles has got some of his contract being paid. Aubameyang goes. That means Lacazette, you could offer him a new deal. You can offer some of these younger players better money who are actually performing. So I don't know, maybe if it's a little bit of sort of trying to balance the books and things like that, bring in a better wage structure. Interesting one, which has cropped up to my attention, is Jermaine Defoe. It looks like 5 years after leaving Sunderland, could be going back to the now League One club. So that'd be an interesting one. And the other one, which I think is very, very interesting, is a loan move for Aaron Ramsey to Rangers. Now, if he's playing at any sort of level that he previously was capable of in the Premier League, he will score about 97 goals a game up there. Because, like, yeah, that's a shocking one to me. Out of all the places he could go, I'm surprised that like Premier League teams haven't come in for him. Or at least, obviously, if it's a short-term loan, I'm sure he can do a job, but maybe there's question marks over him. But yeah. So now, Mike, a discussion which I tried to stay neutral in earlier. I'd like to get an outsider's perspective. So West Ham fans are very frustrated because the board are saying we're trying to sign this player. We're putting £50 million for Calvin Phillips and £50 million for Rafinha, and we bid £60 million for Calvert-Lewin, and this other guy from Uruguay, £45 million for him. So what they're saying is there's money to be spent. It's there, and obviously no one's accepting our bids. And when we do get put in a look at some other players, David Moyes is vetoing it, saying they're not the players he wants, the right players. And David Moyes has sometimes been stubborn in the transfer market, and people are blaming him, saying he should be going out to get anyone. Obviously, we've had time to research it and do it, and he shouldn't be turning down every player that comes to him just because he's waiting for one particular player to become available, either financially or contractually. Is it a case that if right, so that's the background of the essential conversation. So my question is, if David Moyes is not to blame, and he said go out and get this player, and the board are putting in silly bids and not wanting to spend the money, which has been apparent over the years. I know West Ham fans are doing their nut, saying, well, they've said there's loads of money to spend. They also said lots of other things that are not true. But if he's being hung out to dry as the villain, would you blame him for going, I'm walking away now? I'm gonna walk away from the thing, and leave the managers there going, oh shit, we've got the smallest squad in the Premier League. We're the only squad in Europe that hasn't got a striker, and we're running at a loss, and we went from being third to potentially 10th, 11th within the space of 4 weeks. And if it's vice versa, if David Moyes is the one vetoing it, and they're just sort of taking over and trying to sign players who they think would be better, or improve the team. Does he deserve to be hung out to dry?
That's a hard one to answer. I know I get where you're coming from on both sides, but if it is coming from the above, that he becomes more a bit of a scapegoat for these decisions, I would say, I suppose it's kind of like the manager's job to kind of take the flak, because I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to results on the pitch, they're the ones that get the flak for making the decisions regarding the squad selection and all that sort of stuff, regardless of whether the team play good or bad. But if it's coming from above, that they're the ones that are kind of vetoing the decisions, I'd say yes, he does have the right to go, all right then, bollocks here. If you're gonna kind of veto all these decisions for the players that I want, and I can't get what I want in order to improve the squad to take us that next step, and yet you're now happy for me to go and take all this heat from it, then I think, yeah, well, they're well within their right, or he's well within his rights to.
Yeah.
But if he is on the other hand, the one that is kind of holding out for various different transfers, or it's not the player that he wants to sign or whatever, then I think he then has to accept that he's going to be the one that has to take the flak.
Yeah, I get that. I'm sorry, I was just, as you was answering, I was just getting an update slightly as well from some inside sources. So what has now come out in the news, and this sort of clarifies that argument a little bit, is a number of clubs have now come out and said these bids that are allegedly being made, we've never received them. They haven't made the bids to us. So who are they making the bids to? Because we would have accepted that money. So that sort of other owners are now putting Sullivan and Brady out, or Sullivan Gold and Brady out to dry. The West Ham fan base is going bananas. It's also the case that what they've said is David Moyes is a good manager. Well, this is a fan base general opinion from what I can grasp just there. He's a good manager, but he's too passive in terms of just going with what the board want. He's a sort of turned into a bit of a yes man to try and revitalise his career. Obviously, after he left Everton, he went to Manchester United, and that went wrong. Then I think he went to Sunderland and got relegated with them. And then he went to Spain and did really poorly, and then he came to West Ham and did all right, and then got rid of and brought back, and now we are where we are. So it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. For me, I think maybe he took us as far as he can take us. On the other hand, what you have to look at is, with the new owner coming in, or part owner coming in, with what I understand to be a gentleman's agreement to purchase the club after a legacy committee clause in the stadium deal was passed, are they just looking to maintain and not spend the money? Because why are they going to put money into something that they're going to be rid of in 2 years? So it's a difficult one. It's just very frustrating for West Ham fans all round. Oh,
I've just seen, I don't know whether this is or how factually correct it is. I'm told Aubameyang will join Barcelona on a free transfer if this goes through, not alone. It's just come up on Sky Sports News. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is set to join Barcelona on a permanent deal, not alone. The player is taking a significant pay cut to join the Spanish Giants. All parties are happy with the deal. Arsenal are to make £25 million on savings. He will undergo a medical this evening. So it is true. He has played his last game for Arsenal.
If I'm honest, I think that was coming 6 months ago. I think after they gave him that big contract and he had that awful season, they were like, "Oh shit, well, maybe the owners weren't, because when he was scoring, he was a valuable asset in terms of revenues coming in for advertising and things like that. and then he stopped scoring. He's like, oh, we've done a Willian again. We've given this guy who's the wrong side of 30 a huge contract, and now he's just gone, no, thank you very much. I'm gonna go now.
So that's another player off the books.
That's a big saving for.
If I tell you what, now that we've saved, what they've just said is that £25 million savings on his wages, and if we don't go back in for that Isaac guy,
Yep.
whose valuation we fell short by for 25 million.
Yep.
If we don't go back in and buy him, oh mate, that is fucking outrageous.
But that's leaving it late, isn't it?
Yeah, he is leaving it late.
So unless there's and this is the thing that does bring some of the excitement is okay. There's been rumours of a deal. Is it over the line? Is it sort of there in concept? It's just got to be signed once the next deal's gone, and that's where that domino effect comes in. And all of a sudden you see 5 or 6 deals right at the last gasp getting submitted. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I feel that there are some teams have had good transfer windows. I'd say Aston Villa have done very well, especially since Steven Gerrard's come in. They've backed him. They've brought in Coutinho, Digne, and a couple of others. Everton potentially could turn out to be the winners of deadline day, so to speak, with a few players going in. Doesn't necessarily mean they'll turn out to be good, but in terms of bringing in extra depth to the squad. Yeah, there is one other thing that a lot of people are avoiding at the moment, which I do have a question. Mason Greenwood looks like he's going to join Prison FC along with Benjamin Mendy and Sigurdsson and Adam Johnson and the likes. Not too long ago, obviously England fans were appalled that he was out doing other stuff and got kicked off of England duty. Do you think he's going to now go the way of Ravel Morrison? He had the world on a string and potentially could have become world class and a very sought after boy. And for some reason, turns out he's actually a fucking idiot. Sorry, I just do the beep. Sorry, I just do a few of them. Sorry, it's delayed.
It's a very, very sensitive subject, which I've seen on social media over the last 24 hours. Obviously, we have mentioned before, and we'll say it again, we do not condone violence in any way, shape or form, unless it's against each other and you're being a dickhead, but in which case I'll give you a bit of a slap. And likewise you will with me, but we don't condone violence. I think it really depends on what happens with the police. Obviously, I heard earlier that they've applied for an extension for questioning, and given the serious nature of this this allegation, that apparently they can request for an extra 36 hours, anything up to 90.
That's been granted. It's got an unspecified time span on it.
Okay. In which case then, I can't see him. Well, in order for the extra questioning that's going, or has been granted, with some of the pictures that we've seen come out on social media, with the voice recording that's come out on social media, I don't think there's any way back for him as a professional footballer. And
the interesting thing for me in this whole scenario is where other players have been accused of things until such point that they're found guilty. Their teammates have sort of not supported them, but not changed in any way. A number of Manchester United players and a number of other players have unfollowed him on Twitter and Instagram, and they've sort of ousted him from that. So I think even if it's a difficult one, even if he does recover from it in a sense of it turns out it's not quite what it seems, which may be the case because obviously innocent until proven guilty. If it's a case he is guilty, then string him up. But if he's innocent, then it's a case that's still a very difficult and dynamic to try and fix because mud sticks, doesn't it? And obviously, it is a difficult one because of all the stuff is essentially banged to rights with it, and I just feel like there's you had troubled youth as footballers years ago, but nothing like there is today. It's not as common or as stuff, especially in young players. It seems to be that they are treated like they're world superstars from very young age and think they can do and get away with whatever they like. So something I think has to change along the way, that maybe a wage structure is brought in for youngsters that they can earn X amount of money until such point as they are 18, or it goes into a legacy sort of retirement fund. They get like an allowance type of thing, and the rest of it goes into a pension.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Chelsea, or some players at Chelsea a few years ago, 18 years old on 50 grand a week or something stupid, and there's some senior Premier League players that don't even earn that much a week. When you look at some of the lower squads, it is absolutely crazy. To be honest, and I'm going to speak generically here, and this may be my age. Just to clarify, I'm 36 years old. But
bloody hell.
Just
you had a Jesus a year above you at school, wasn't he?
No, it was his dad that was above me at school. It's just the world in general is crazy. Everyone thinks they're a supermodel when you look at all these stupid duck pouty faces on Instagram and all this sort of stuff. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
That should be an Instagram model.
The way that people interact with each other, gone are the days of actually having a conversation with each other. You can go to any restaurant, any bar, any coffee shop, and you'll see everyone talking or communicating on their phones, checking social media and the like. Like I said, gone are the days of that. And I think partly everyone wants to be a film star. Everyone wants to be a YouTube star. Everyone wants to do this. Everyone wants their 5 minutes of fame. And I know that's kind of hypocritical coming from me, obviously doing this YouTube channel, but I do it because I enjoy talking about the football.
Yes.
I don't do it to kind of seek attention on my opinions, and I give you my honest opinion. If people disagree, people disagree. I'm not going to argue with them, but that's my opinion. But just the way that the world is, things are so toxic as well, and this is another thing that's really getting to me. Just with people's attitudes of the younger generations, see on social media, that just even when you're looking at stuff, when you're checking out posting stuff for your own club and you read some of the comments, it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
And I think that some people, or the younger generations, are possibly a little bit too protected, whereas as we were growing up, I'm not saying this specifically for my family, but you misbehave, you got a smack around the head or whatever, or smack around the bum, and you learn from it. Whereas nowadays, if you were to do that to a kid, you can get child services involved and the whatnot. The parents get banged away or whatnot. And again, I'm not condoning violence of any shape or form.
No, but there was a repercussion to your actions, was there?
Yeah.
Now it's a faceless, nameless thing. You call someone fat on Twitter, and they go, "Oh, I'm being bullied." Before you did it in a playground, they're likely to lump you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to what I'm saying about to bring it back to what I was saying about the stars of the younger generation in football. They're not, or they are protected, I suppose, as such. When you see some people come out with some of the racism tweets and all that sort of stuff that are being kind of dug up, and people have to try to defend these people from years ago. I was saying, "Oh, I was just a kid," blah 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 blah. I'm sorry, if you don't know that then, when you were 17 or whatever, that calling someone something
any in particular?
No. But do you know what I mean? There's like, oh, he's just a kid, and people are never going to learn if they're always protected. And unfortunately, when you see someone within the kind of employment in which they're in, they do have that level or more level of protection. You look at all these people that speed, like professional footballers or professional athletes, they get caught speeding or whatever.
Yep.
If that was Mr. Joe Public, they'd potentially lose their license for God knows how many years or whatever, and having to pay significant fines. And for some professional athlete, all they got to do is pay like court fines or something stupid. I think it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And it is good that we are starting to see, I think, more and more cases of people or professional athletes being caught doing wrong
And being held responsible for it.
Yeah, which is good. And I think one of the things that makes that easier is that a camera doesn't lie.
Yep.
And everyone has got access to some sort of recording medium now.
Yeah, well,
we could go out and make a video
as
put
soon
it
as
online.
as soon as anything's happening and there's incidents, someone's collapsed in the street, there's a fight, you look round the crowd, no one's interested in helping. It's straight away, I'm going to record. Let's record that. It's in some senses it's disgusting. In other senses it's like can potentially be useful. But I mean, I did see a fantastic tweet in relation to Mason Greenwood, and that might sound a little bit odd. And it was from a mum who said, "My son is in a Premier League academy, and I would encourage the obviously law to take the dimmest view on his actions and punish him in such a way that sets an example to these young players that says you are not untouchable. Doesn't matter what you do or how good you are at it. If you do wrong, then you're the same as everybody else."
Yep.
Because she said it's obviously I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but her thing was they feel untouchable because they are treated like kings.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that I thought was fantastic. That someone who actively is encouraging and supporting their young person to become the best they can be and potentially down the line become a world superstar is saying they need a wake up call.
Kick up the backside, yeah.
So yeah, but on that front, has Aubameyang joined Barcelona yet?
No, it looks like it's going to be
It could be a late one for that.
done deal. Yeah, he's got his medical coming up. To be honest, there was kind of a bit of me that was like, oh, once again the media's blown everything out of proportion. Obviously, he's not had to go away for this warm weather training camp in Dubai. He's booked to go and see his family. People have just got the wrong end of the stick, and obviously it's now come out that the deal's going ahead. And the worst bit about it is, I suppose from a business point of view, it's a lot of money, especially if he was continuing his run of form that he's had for the last season and a half. To be paying that sort of wages for a player that's not performing is ridiculous. But from a sentimental point, he was world class for us in a period where we were absolutely diabolical. We got to 2 Europa League finals. We got an FA Cup. We got a Community Shield, beating Manchester City, Chelsea, and Liverpool on the way for those games. And to now not have him, we've got not really any marquee signings now. Lacazette is all coming to the wrong side of 30. What's going to happen to him? Is he going to extend his contract? No. So we've got him to the end of the season, and because he's off, he'll likely go. Sorry, we're left. Oh no, he won't care. Sorry, is where I was going with this. He won't care where we finish this season. I was reading earlier that him and Eddie Nketiah have scored 2 goals in the Premier League in open play this season since Aubameyang's been out. It's worrying. Emile Smith-Rowe is currently our top scorer.
Emile Smith-Rowe?
Yep, is currently our top scorer.
I've got to admit, that's surprising.
Considering that was one of the things he needed to work on was his scoring, and he's our top scorer on 8 goals.
Yeah, I mean that Diego Costa's on a free. He's now out of club, 33 years old. Not bring him in. He played well against Arsenal.
Yeah, but at the same time, he didn't play well against Arsenal, especially against the BFG, the big in German Mertesacker. He sorted him right out, mate. And so did Rob Holding, to be fair.
I thought you was going to say big fat Gunnosaurus, but
no.
But yeah,
Can we get can we hijack the Dele Alli?
Oh,
deal?
mate, you don't want that. That's the bit that gets me. Is that's another one who should have had a word in his ear and someone saying to him, "You need to sort your ideas out, mate." Because he, when he moved, a young man from MK Dons had the world on a string going to Tottenham and did really well, straight into the England squad, things like that. And all of a sudden, he's untouchable. And Pochettino lost the ability to get a tune out of him. Mourinho couldn't get a tune out of him. Espirito Santo couldn't get a tune out of him. Whoever was before Mourinho couldn't get a tune out. Oh no, Mourinho replaced Pochettino, didn't he?
Yeah.
Conte come in, can't get a tune out of him. He's an interesting player. And said, what does that say there? You've got two world class managers. One another manager who's I wouldn't say world class, but he's pretty good, who Tottenham fans love, and all three of them failed to get anything out of Dele Alli.
I am interested to see whether kind of like a new start for him will be the thing that he needs to kind of give him that kick up the backside again. And I think one thing that we'd seen in Frank Lampard's time as a manager is that he is good at getting his arm around players and making them feel valuable.
Yes.
Obviously not towards the end of his tenure at Chelsea, but certainly his time at Derby and his beginning career at Chelsea. That with the likes of some of the academies coming.
Well,
up,
Mason Mount, Reece James, Tamori, Tammy Abrahams. None of them were players before he got there. And now they're all household names. Obviously, some of them probably would have made it without him, but in that sense, yeah, possibly. What's he got? I mean, I watched a very interesting interview with him and Gary Neville. It was quite long, and he was saying that he learned a lot, obviously, from Uncle. Learned a lot from Jose and other top managers that he still speaks to, and he always tries to improve. But if the bloke who he's learning from or learnt from can't do it, that in his eyes, and a lot of Chelsea players, is the best manager ever to ever exist. How's he going to do it? Do you know what I mean? It's if it goes well, we know he's got quality and he's a good player. But so your prediction is Arsenal are not going to bring in anyone.
Well, I have seen something about a deal for a defender from the Colorado Rapids, but he's not coming until the summer. And I suppose the beauty with loan signings is that you can always recall them should things get really diabolical. But I just can't see it. There's 3 hours to go. You ain't going to get all the paperwork and stuff done unless something's been boiling in the background that we just don't know about.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think it's one of those. I think your deadline is 11, isn't it, to get your paperwork submitted on the intent to do a deal to the Premier League. So they do grant extensions, providing it's in by 11 or a couple of minutes past. And then they give you an X amount, like an X 8-hour window to get all the fine details sorted. But it looks like, I say, just reading some more bits that West Ham have all but confirmed there are going to be no ins. So it could be an interesting couple of weeks if we don't hit the ground running and pick up some real good form. That London Stadium, I think we're going to see the pitch invasions again. I think we're going to see a lot of other stuff, and it's not good for the club. Obviously, UEFA don't like us anyway. So if that's all going on, what are they going to try and do in terms of banning fans from going to Europa League games and kicking us out of competitions? So,
mate.
Yeah, it's all very stressful. It's all a very stressful day. But hey ho, that's what it is. What it is. Next week we'll be back to normal because obviously there is football to discuss, which is fantastic because I like watching football. Obviously West Ham played Kidderminster in the FA Cup. If I'm honest, I think my little decal of the FA Cup is probably going to disappear in that game. I think that's a banana skin for us, especially with the current climate of what's going on. It'll only make things worse. But yeah, so is there any messages you'd like to finish on, Mike?
I'd like to thank my mum and my dad for having me. Sign some players. That's what I've got.
I think that's a grunt that's being echoed around the country by almost every fan. But yeah, so on that note, then until next week, I've been Ian.
I've been Mike.
We are FDT-TV. Don't beat up your girlfriend. That's the last note.
Sorry, I really shouldn't have laughed on that. That's really serious.
That's dirty, mate. Dirty.
It's just the way you said that. No, seriously, don't beat up your girlfriend or your
Don't do it.
boyfriend.
Yeah, or anyone. Don't beat up anyone. Not unless you're like a UFC fighter or something. Yeah. See you next week.